angle of the hook, when you go to set that hook, the jig's going to rotate. So with the angle, it's going to drive it right up into that lip.
Top speed as fast as you can crank it with a 15-mile-an-hour east wind in your face.
And that's where you're going to find all these flatfish. There's all those troughs right on the edges of the sandbars.
If people want to put themselves in that dangerous situation, let them. Don't follow them. If you're uncomfortable, stick to your guns. Don't do it.
Yeah. 90% of everything in their stomach content is going to be mussels.
But these are the same ones I target like world-class tarpon with when I go on vacation.
You want to put that bait on so a lot of the bait is stacked up on the shaft of the hook, and a lot of that hook is exposed with the bait laying up by the shaft of the hook.
Dang, you go deep when you're talking rods. I love it.
But if I'm going to go for big fish, I've learned to throw bigger plugs, and they'll produce. I mean.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. My name is Rich. I'm going to bring on my co-hosts. Tonight we have Ed and John, the mayor, Creeley, checking in.
What's going on, guys?
How you doing? Well, it's that time of year, right? So there's not much going on out on the water for most people, but we're anxiously awaiting one more week and 4 hours for the opening of a couple of seasons. The ones that I'm focused on right now are obviously striped bass, and winter flounder also opens. I believe somebody might want to fact check that. But everyone that is joining us tonight, welcome. We want to do something a little bit different tonight. We've had a few really good guests over the past several weeks. And we wanted to just kind of come back together, the three of us, do one episode, just kind of like a Q&A. One of the things that we had talked about at the end of last year was that we wanted to make sure that there was more engagement between us and the people that are watching the stream or subscribing to the channel, or even if you're not subscribed to the channel, if you're a Captain Hanks customer and you're watching specifically to see Ed, you get to have that interaction with him. Same with John. John knows everybody. So we wanted to do that. So if you have any questions, we'll go through a couple of topics on our own. But if you have any questions, pop them in the chat. If you want to come on and be live on screen with us, let us know that as well. We can actually hook that up really quickly. Got to be really careful about who we let on, though. Last stream, we had a couple of people spamming some terrorist names in the...
Yeah, I think it was Osama bin Laden. He came back from the sea.
Yeah.
He had a couple of Russians, chiming in on that.
Yeah, so those people won't be allowed on. But anyone else, I don't see anyone in. I can't tell who's watching right now because we can only tell actually if somebody's commenting. So hello to the regulars that are here, and welcome to anybody that is new. So we're going to jump right in. And what we typically do is go kind of around the horn and go with what's up, what's new. Let's start off this time with Ed. And I'm going to do that mainly because John and I spent some time together this weekend, and we have probably similar stories. So we'll just go back to back. So, Ed?
Well, nothing too crazy. We did we finally got the pro staff team nailed down. So I can go through that real quick. For 22, we pretty much put together the best group of guys I can think of. We have Mike Warner. Rich, you've fished with him. Mike or John, you have not yet. But, that'll be coming up soon. Obviously, you, Rich. We have John, and then two local guys. Chris, who's always on the stream, Chris Matusin, and a good friend of mine, Don Vasquez. So, between all of us, I think, like you said, I don't think we can put together a better team. So I'm super proud to announce that. Those guys are, if you guys have any questions, you can reach out to them. They're more than willing to help. Obviously myself, I'm accessible pretty much through any social media or whatever. But if you have some more intricate questions, and these guys are more than willing to help and a really good resource. So proud to have everybody on the team.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'm really happy to be on the team. I'm one of those guys who said, "Well, I'm never going to do pro staff." But as it turns out, love your stuff. As I said, you know, not only do I like you and everything, but we met because of your tackle.
Was it? I thought I was bugging you on Facebook.
What's that?
I thought I was bugging you on Facebook about your videos or something.
No, actually, I think I bugged you first. So, yeah, it was about, you know, getting the bucktails, and I wanted to see what you could do. And I was hooked immediately after. Man, it's a good team. It also overlaps a little bit with the Fat Dad tournament team, which I mentioned the names last week. We're going to have those shirts coming in from Soap Loves soon, probably this week, actually. So we'll show those. But yeah, great team. You know, with the exception of the mayor. It'll be awesome to say, you know, on the same team with Chris. Chris is definitely one of the guys. What's that?
I said we need to get him a haircut and a shave.
Not happening.
There's professional standards now, John.
Yeah, just a little bit.
You're not just on a YouTube thing anymore. You're representing a brand, real brand. Yeah, so that's awesome news. I'm really, really happy to do it. You know, and I think people know by now, if something works, I'm going to say it. If it doesn't work, I'm going to say it. Interestingly enough, I'll jump into some of my updates. I had a company. I have a lot of companies that reach out to me and they want me to do videos or sponsor videos and, you know, review this, review that. And most of it is just, that has absolutely nothing to do with fishing. Or I just look at them like, no, I don't even want to review it. But I was talking to John at the end of last year about just adding another bait caster in, and this Chinese company, Runkle, reached out to me and they said, you know, pick a spinning reel, a bait caster reel, winter gloves, or waterproof tackle box. And we'll send it to you free if you do an unboxing video on it. And just give your honest feedback. I said, are you sure you want honest? And they said, yes, honest feedback. And then depending on, they say how much we like the video, which means depending on what you say good about us, maybe we'll send you another. Well, people know I don't care if they send me another one. So I'm going to give the honest review. I videotaped part of the unboxing earlier. Actually, it does look decent for the price point, but I haven't had it on the water, so that'll be coming up. I just think it's funny. They sent me a free reel, just praying that I would actually do a video for them. So that's going to be coming up. But the bigger thing was this past weekend on Friday, got together with John and Tad and John, another John, and a bunch of other people that ran into some people that view this channel, and we went to the Philadelphia Fishing Expo or show, or whatever it's called, in Oaks, PA. And man, it was not a big show at all, and it had a lot of freshwater stuff, which is a little disappointing to me, not to most people. I mean, it is in Pennsylvania, but it was a decent show with some really good people there, and I think we were there for 6+ hours.
I was there till close.
Yeah, you were there till close, but it closed at 7, right?
Yeah, it was 12 to 7. We did a full shift. We were there. So.
Yeah, so I was there 12 till 6. I had to leave to pick up dinner for the family. And I actually didn't make it back the other days of the weekend. I was hoping to get back and walk around and talk to some more people, but it just didn't work out. But it was interesting. Got to talk to some people, you know, Jim Hutchinson briefly. John, he had a great story. I don't think that we can tell it though.
Oh, I'm telling it.
I think for Jim we can't, and maybe I'll tell people privately when I see you. But it was just a funny story about the opening of the event for him. It went from we're all set to pure chaos.
You know what? I'm going to stop you right there. That whole incident, right? That guy shut it down with us too. He was there until close.
Oh, did yeah, I saw him. Yeah.
He was there till close.
Yeah. So I had to be sensitive to that gentleman about it. It was just something happened that was funny. But also got to talk to a bunch of other people. There were tackle shops. There were charter captains. Got to meet a lot of people that I wanted to in person. Frank Mihalik, got to talk to him. Got to talk to all the guys at Century. Qua was there. Qua, he put in the chat. He's cooking dinner, but he can jump in a little bit, so we can have Qua jump on.
Qua's making.
I know.
Did you ever
He
see some of the
always-
stuff he posts?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm actually a very picky eater, but half of that food he cooks, man, I definitely try it out.
Yeah, I would say all of it. It looks amazing. That guy, he's multi-talented. Definitely, because he cooks things that I don't know, maybe he's an Instagram cook and it just looks good and it tastes terrible.
Well,
But-
if it tastes half as good as it looks, he's onto something.
Yeah, definitely. But the show was good. So John, what were your thoughts on the show, generally speaking, besides the fact that you went in not wanting to spend a lot of money, and you told me I couldn't buy a boat, and you ended up buying not a boat, but
All right, so me being the
I'm glad I
mayor
didn't
that
go.
I am, what was that, Ed?
I said I'm glad I didn't go.
Yeah, trust me, you would have been in the same problem I was.
there's money spent.
Yep. Being the mayor that I am, I usually know somebody at one of the booths. So over at Century, Mike Morgan and Dean, I can't pronounce your last name, so I apologize if you're watching it in the future. I fished with them quite a few times. They're awesome guys. They're working with Advanced Fishing now, which is who builds custom Century rods, gets the Century rods in. Just so happened that apparently I needed a new jigging blank. So going to be building a Century Weapon Junior. The rating on it is just ridiculous. It's 1/4 to 1.5, which you could put a 2 ounce on there. It'd be fine. I don't go past 2 anyway. But those guys, I've seen the pictures from them. They were catching 9-pound hog on that rod. And I mean, you want to talk about a thin, sensitive rod. Yeah. I just never bought a Century because of the price point. You know, it is very steep, but that's one of the benefits of being a builder. So,
Yeah, it's it's funny. It turned out that you needed a jigging blank, but he didn't know it until he got there and held it in his hand. I was afraid because later in the afternoon, Randy, our buddy Randy, he's also on the fishing team. He showed up. We were walking around a little bit, and he stopped and had quite a conversation around the Century blanks. So he builds his own rods. Unlike John, he's not selling them. He just makes them for himself and some friends. But I was just waiting for him to pull out that wallet and start buying. I mean, they're amazing products. I mean, they really are. There's a big difference between what I fish with on a kayak and that. And there was one that I really wanted. There was a really nice fly rod. But I just kept saying, dude, I would love this if I had a boat and I wasn't, worried about dropping this in the water, because that's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. So but man, if you have the money to spend and you don't mind dropping to 300, 400, 800, which is what the fly rod was, $800 rod. I didn't know that when I thought I wanted it, by the way. I thought thought it was 600, which actually is for a saltwater fly rod. It's still up there,
good.
but it's good. Yeah. But if you don't mind those prices and you want the best, I mean, the best blanks and everything, you should really check them out. Put them in your hand and play around with them. I'm sure, John, have you put yours down yet? Have you?
No, I have not had time, actually. I'm waiting on materials for a lot of projects. I still have 4 builds before I can even think about getting to mine. And then it looks like I might even have another one on deck now too. So I want to have it done before April 1st, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot that everybody, I mean, the season's about to kick off, and I'm sure we all have a ton to do. Ed, I'm sure that you didn't make as many jigs as you had wanted to get some inventory build up. No. John, you obviously have your backlog on rods, but that's the life of a custom builder.
I've been killing time though with not having materials in hand. I've been actually just practicing some more and looking at one of the comments. James Flynn, he's checking out some of the IG work. I think you have a couple of the photos. Just been working on the closed wraps and trying to better myself as a builder. Now, not everyone wants that closed wrap nowadays, but it's just something nice to have and offer.
Yeah, I mean, let me see if I can pull up a couple of the pictures just to show what James is talking about. So on Instagram, John does post some of his builds. That's kind of zoomed out, but there you go. I mean, they're just really nice work, and you haven't been doing it very long.
I started in 2020, right before
Yeah.
the pandemic, actually. It was just a thought like, hey, let me start building rods. And then the pandemic happened and it kind of took off from there.
Yeah, it's I mean, they're nice. There you go. The 10-pound weight on there, I assume.
Yeah. And I do that with every rod. If that 10-pound weight comes off the ground, then it's good to go.
Look at that bend.
Yeah, that's a Black Hole 691 ultralight.
Man. Yeah, so these are, if anyone is getting a build or looking forward to a build from John, these are the wraps that you could expect to see on there. But as somebody who does, I do make rods. I have a whole bunch of rod building stuff all around me. We actually determined I have more components than John has.
Yeah, I'm going over to house to rate it because I'm like bare minimum at this point.
Yeah, mine are probably like 15 years old at this point, though, so it's not the latest and greatest. But you can look forward to these things, and it's funny because I keep telling John, next rod that he makes for me, I just want it black with I just want it to be black with black wrap and maybe one or two strands of color in there, and kind of actually similar to the Century rods that we were looking at. They were all black and silver,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. But beautiful work. I think just beautiful work. And the one that you posted last night, I think it was man, that was amazing.
Yeah, it takes time, but a lot of people don't realize doing a closed wrap like that, it could take anywhere upwards of 12 hours, depending on how fast you're moving, if you make mistakes, and people have to counter that in. That's part of the labor. It's the time. It's not really the materials. It's time.
Yeah. All right, guys, you want to take over for a second? Let me see if I can get Qua in here. I just got to see if I still have his email address, and I will get him in here.
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely a good thing I didn't go with you guys, because after my latest spending spree, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you.
Don't worry. It's not only that. I stopped by Chris's on Thursday, and of course, I had to get a slow pitch reel.
Oh, geez.
That's the new thing for this year. It's going to be slow pitch flounder.
Yep. That's the goal. I'm waiting on Dean to get back to me about Century's slow pitch blank. Right now, they're still in prototype phase, so I'm waiting on that. That was actually what I wanted to buy, but they don't make it apparently.
What are they getting for blanks? Are they still like $400?
Most likely. Well, the Weapon Junior that I picked up was surprisingly not that bad. It was $212, I think. But again, that's a show price, so
That's not too bad.
no. For a blank from Century, that's decent. And having that rating, it's good too.
Yeah, I'm curious to see it, so I want to try it once you get it done.
Yeah. Don't get any ideas because I'm not going to be your the fault.
Yeah,
What,
so
for getting me
Qua,
addicted?
if you would do me a favor, sorry to jump in here. Qua, if you do me a favor, just send me an email real quick, Rich at Fat Dad Fishing. I'll be able to get you in by sending you the link through email.
So
and there's
Andrew
Drew.
says-
So Drew, we were hoping would want to come on too, but go ahead.
yeah, he wants us to save our money for next month. Well, all my money is spent. I got a brand new truck in the driveway, so I am done for a long time.
Yeah, Drew, I'm not spending too much money at the next one. I'm going to keep building here.
I'm thinking about going actually and heading up there. Is that the one in Edison?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going
Yeah.
to it, but I'm just not buying anything. I might buy a pretzel, and that's about it.
Yeah, I just
leave your wallet in the truck.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I actually went with a lot of money and left with almost all of it. I think all of it. I don't know
That's
that
good.
I bought anything. But I got to talk to a lot of people and meet a lot of people, which was great. And for those that haven't been to a show, you really should go and just walk around. But you have to be open to talking to people. Because these captains that are there and these, the salespeople that are there, they do want to talk to you. And it's not always about just getting the sale, especially if they're, if they have a couple minutes downtime. There's some really deep conversations that go on there. Qua was there. We were talking with Qua for quite a while. Bunch of other people walking around, people that you see on social media, but also on TV from time to time. So it was a pretty interesting show. Qua, I'm waiting for your email right now.
Real
I got a
quick.
good one for you, John.
Thank you. That was the one I was looking at. All right. So the difference between a slow pitch rod and a traditional jigging rod. If you haven't seen it, you need to. It's just the technology behind it, and it comes from Japan. That's really where it originated from. They came up with, I guess it's more carbon fiber and just the way they weave the rod and, how much resin they're putting into this rod. It's pencil thin. Like when I say it's pencil thin, it is pencil thin. And the funny thing is you could throw up to like a 10-ounce jig, which is, I guess, like 400 grams. And these guys are jigging tuna, amberjacks down in Florida with these rods. And you see them and they're bent over. But it's a different style of fishing too. If you have the chance, look it up just so you can understand it. It's really hard to explain. You have to witness it to understand what's going on. But the rod itself, think of it, it's just a strong, stout little pencil-thin rod compared to a traditional jigging rod, which allows you to use a different type of jig.
Yeah, and it's the different type of jig that's important. I mean, if you're not familiar with them, it's a whole different type of jig, from the hook placement to how it works. But man, the flutter on those things.
Give me a second, Rich. I'm going to find one of those jigs. I just brought the bag back into the house. So
okay, all right, yeah. So it was something actually last year with the slow pitch. I was talking with Randy again, the guy that's on the team. And he was talking about the slow pitch rod that he had made and he was using, and he was having a lot of success with it. We were talking about the different species and, convinced, it's not like it's revolutionary. People do slow pitch flounder. But that's what I wanted to kind of go into this year doing. John picked up on, John makes rods. So John just jumped right on it, and he's ready to go with the slow pitch. Let's see if Qua, you ever slow pitch?
I do have a slow pitch rod.
Yep. So you want to add a little bit about that?
Slow pitch designs they're pencil thin, like John was saying, that they're designed for Japan. So they're pretty much pencil thin, but they're able to withstand jigs up to anywhere between 2 and 8 ounces. What they came into the market super popular. Who brought it out first was actually Tsunami, and from watching Skinner's video, he was the one that uses the slow pitches for the fluking that he does.
Yeah.
So that's when it became a whole big boom. But then, like, a lot of guys use it for jigging tuna because they don't want to carry a big old beefy stick around with them all day, and it gets tiring. So these guys can bring these literally like 9-ounce rods on and then Alexa 300 or something, or a Tranks, and literally just pop, and they can hold all that weight.
Yeah, and then they went unpopular again.
Yeah,
for some reason.
Yeah, they went unpopular.
But it's a totally different kind of fishing. You're not putting a gulp on there, you're not putting a centibait. You have to really work it. It's like the cast and retrieve, the top water guys. You have to work that the whole time. But the difference is you don't see it, so you have to feel it. You have to feel what the lure is doing. John, were you able to grab one?
Unfortunately, I think it's out in the garage, and I'm now a little nervous because now I can't find this tackle box.
Oh, okay. I'm sure it'll turn up. You were throwing stuff around in there earlier, so
yeah.
Anytime you're cleaning, I have a whole bunch of stuff I can't get to right now because. So, just Qua. First of all, thanks for jumping on. Everyone who is unaware, Qua is one of the co-hosts of the Tide Chasers podcast. If you haven't checked that out, definitely want to check that out. They focus on connecting the listener with professionals, avid fishermen, people that essentially you can learn from. But it also goes beyond just fishing. It goes into other things. It's all fishing related though, and it's got a real strong local flavor. So I'd say New Jersey, New York. You're going further now though. You're expanding.
New Jersey, New York, Delaware, Maine, Massachusetts, Rhode Island. We're going south further. We're already in Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and I've got a couple of people coming on from Texas, Florida, and then also the West Coast. I'm digging into the striper fishery in the West Coast. So
yeah, and that's an interesting one. We're going to be for the live stream. We've got a gentleman that's well, it's the big bull red time right now down south, so he's busy, but he's going to be coming on. We've got some guests that are ranging a little bit further that are coming up, but that'll be interesting if you see the striped bass on the West Coast, and it's amazing the things you can learn when you just reach outside of your area and look at the same or very similar species in other areas. And the great example that you're on right now, talk about sheep's head. They never used any jigs down south. The sheep's head capital down south, and they were only using rigs, and that's it. Now they're getting all various types of jigs down there, and they're learning that maybe the Northerners found something that they were missing.
Yeah, definitely. The jig, the sheep's head bite down there is a little different than ours, but I mean, they're just starting to incorporate our jig style up here, and then it's been working super duper well with them. I talked to a guy in South Carolina. He does really well in sheep's, and me and him's been talking back and forth. I might try to bring him on to do a whole full on sheep comparison between our waters and his waters in South Carolina.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I just remember going down there and went into a tackle shop, one of the local ones, and was talking to the guy. He's like, "Here's something you've never heard of," and he said, "Buy these." And I was like, "Hold on a second." I'm like, I know those. Those were invented up where I live. I can't believe you guys are just getting them. He's like, "We're the first shop on the islands, first shop on the Outer Banks that has them." I was like, "Well, you should sell a lot, because as soon as people see what they can do, they're going to love them." I personally love jig fishing, so I prefer that over a rig. I don't like having two hooks and just fluoro dangling out there. That's more John's game.
Yeah. Look, you want a big fish, you gotta drop down the rig. Just saying.
Understood. Yeah.
That can
I'll
be
prove you
contested.
wrong this year.
Yeah, listen, man. I still can't get past 8 3/4, so I'm just gonna sit here and keep quiet.
Yeah. All right, so let's see. We had a couple other questions.
Go back to James Flynn with that one. So he was asking you, but go ahead if you want to chime in on that.
So he's talking about the slow pitch, fluke and tuna. Nope. No, it's not the same rod. They're definitely, it's like any other one. A heavy backbone fluke rod is still going to be different than much different than a heavy backbone tuna rod, and the same holds true with the slow pitch. Now, the difference is in the action. The actions are going to be very similar across them. They're both going to essentially just bow up. It's because of the way that the lure flutters. You need the flutter action, so it has to be a smoother presentation with the vertical jig on the slow pitch. So the difference is in the action. The differences in the action really aren't there. It's going to all be, I guess, it's very slow. Slow is technically the slowest. It's probably very slow compared to regular slow rods. But no, you're going to have much bigger backbone on the heavier tuna rods, and so on and so forth.
I wouldn't say it's a heavier backbone per se. It's more in the tip than anything. If you think about it with a rod, it's a cone, right? That's how you want to think of a rod. It's a cone as it tapers to the tip. And on the tuna rod, it's going to be a little bit of a thicker tip. Say the size is calling for a 9 tip on the slow pitch rod for tuna, as opposed to a fluke, it might be like a 6. I'm just spitting numbers here. They're probably way off, but that's the general concept. But what you're looking at, though, is the gram rating is what you're really looking at. So you look at a normal rod, you'll see a 1/4 to 2 ounce or a 1 ounce to 4 ounce rating. You're looking for, say 60 gram to 200 gram for a fluke rod, whatever it may be. And a tuna rod, you're going to look for like that 200 to 400 gram. That way you can have the capabilities. You're deep dropping a heavier jig for tuna, as opposed to dropping in a shallow water for a fluke with a very smaller jig.
Yeah, and just from the practicality of it, also consider the different size reels that you're going to have. You're not going to be able to seat a tuna reel on some of these slow pitch. Not some you might, but a lot of them you're not going to be able to do that.
So that is a Valiant 300 by Accurate. Again, I swear up and down by Accurate, but that's going to be your smaller reel.
Tell us you have money without telling us you have money.
Hey, listen, it's cheaper than drugs.
I mean, also another thing about tuna rods is the recovery on the rod as you're bending. So you got to figure slow pitching for albies and stuff like that. It's literally just you're pretty much yo-yoing sometimes. But for tuna, it's a straight up vertical pop. Be real as fast as you can. It recovers and pop one more and keep coming up all the way to the top. It's kind of like, what do we call it? Is it blue fishing that we literally drop it to the bottom and burn it up, right? On party boats?
That's how you used to do the diamond jigs back in the day.
Yeah, sea bass.
And then you burn it to the top, and then but with tuna, it's just the same movement, except you're adding a pop here and there. So, I mean, the recovery on that rod has to be like instantly, or you're going to get your jig is going to flop on one weird side and hang up on itself, or it's just not going to, it's not, tuna, they'll hit anything, but their eyesight's so good that if it acts a certain way while they're coming at it full speed, they'll turn instantly. Like if you ever albie fish that you literally throw your epoxy and you're ripping it through the current, and that albie's coming, if he sees a certain glare of it, he's going to turn instantly right off of it.
Yeah, I mean, pelagics are naturally very lure shy. Unlike some of these ambush predators, you put something in front of a fluke, it's going to grab it, taste it. A weak fish, it's going to do the same thing. A bluefish is a pelagic, but it's stupid, I guess, because it'll hit anything. But once you get into like the mackerel, the tuna, mahi, I find are lure shy. They'll really test it out. The presentation matters, and the presentation on that slow pitch and the way that the hooks are, it's going to be easy to foul that thing.
Yeah, definitely. Once you get a fouled jig, you might as well just bring it all the way back up. It's talking about the slow pitch jig this year. It might come back, Rich, because that whole big vibe about flutter spoons last year, it's taken off this year. It's going to happen. It's going to be like the biggest craziness out there.
It's like the bell bottoms are coming back.
Get on that flutter spoon, man. I want to see some Captain Hank's flutter spoons.
Are you like in my brain? Or
I see you. I see the light bulb turn on, and it starts to move. So I'm like, I know it's looking right now.
But it's funny because that was a topic of conversation about 8 hours ago.
Mm-hmm.
He's always thinking, what about this? What about this? Here's something I'm going to test. Yeah.
I mean, that's what a tackle and business shop do. You gotta be able to catch that trend before it happens, or beat it before everyone else gets to it,
or be the trend.
Or be the trend. There you go. Trendsetters.
Look at what what's his name down south there with the bottom sweepers. I mean, he started it all.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Dan.
That's one of those.
Yeah,
that's one of those things. He was goofing around at home because he couldn't find anything he liked, because he was using regular old jig heads that we find in like Dick's Sporting Goods or something, and using them, and it just didn't fit what he needed. So he built it to the way he wanted, just like John. He had it. He used out the box rods, and then it didn't have the ratings of what he wants. He's like, you know what? I'm just going to build what I want. So
that's the way to do it, and it worked out for him. Definitely worked out for him. Drew, the principle behind slow pitching is you make one crank of the handle, the rod loads. After the rod loads, and you stop cranking, the tip of the rod unloads, causing the jig to snap up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's easier. Well, to me, it took me a little bit. I've only done slow pitch, I don't know, a few dozen times in my life, and it definitely takes me a little bit to get that timing on the load and the unload and making sure it's doing the right thing. But once you get it, it's like casting a fly rod. Once you get it, you got it.
Either that or with it. Like a spook, getting the spook to dart. That's a cadence. You're working the rod tip and you're also reeling at the same time, and it all has to line up, or else that thing won't do nothing.
Yeah,
it's just like getting you to pat your head and rub your tummy, right? can't do it. Not everyone can do it. Once you get the cadence of it, you got it.
Right. Until you ask to change it up or reverse it, and then they start messing up again. Before we go, we got a few other questions that are more of the offshore, striped bass and tuna, but don't want to get too far away from this one while you're on here.
Yep.
Going back to the sheep's head, talking about down south and the style that they fish down there.
Down south, there's multiple ways that they fish for sheep's head. They do the free line, which is what he's talking about with just no weight. That's really it's not hard, but it has to be like the right conditions. It has to be pretty much almost slack tide, no current, and like perfect presentation to a sheep. They usually add a little pinch weight. It's kind of like a knocker rig, but not full knocker rig. So they do the pinch weight probably like an inch or two above the fiddler. It's just enough added weight to bring it down to make it look like a natural presentation. And then they do the knocker rig, which we all know it's egg sinker, barrel swivel, right to a hook, And then they do this new stuff that we've done it for years when I fished in Florida, but it's just becoming popular, is the float rig. We do it down here in South Jersey too for like fluke and off the jetties and full week fish and stuff like that. But yeah, float rigs, literally slip bobber float rigs. That's been super popular lately down there too. And then now now they incorporate the jigs, which pretty much is the perfect balance because you get the weight, perfect vertical presentation, and you could fish it in hard current, you could fish it in slack, you could fish it in windy days. So
yeah, and I'll say one thing. I talked to a lot of locals, which are really difficult to find in the Outer Banks in the summer, but talked to one guy as I was getting on the water. I was going to go fish out in the Sound. In Pamlico Sound, and he said, what are you fishing for? And I said, well, I might hit some of this structure out in the middle for sheep. And he said, oh, well, come over here. He had 2 5-gallon buckets of sand fleas, and he said you got to use sand fleas down here in North Carolina. I said, well, I have some. I had a little container, and he started laughing. He's like, you're going to be through that in about 3 minutes. And he tried to hand me a whole 5-gallon bucket. And I was like, dude, it's just me. I'm in a kayak. I'm not pulling out an entire 5-gallon bucket. So he ran to his truck and he got me a 1-gallon bucket, and he just dumped a gallon in there. I was like, well, what do I owe you? He's like, dude, this is just for me and my buddies drinking on the beach today. He's like, it'll take us 5 minutes to refill what I just gave you. So yeah, sand fleas down there. That's the easy bait to get and very popular with the locals.
Also, guys, if you are listening, I'll break it out the news here since we're already here. I'll make the big announcement on Fat Dad's channel.
Oh, there you go.
I
wish I had some music. Hold on. Dun, dun, dun. Go ahead.
Okay. I'll be doing a sheep's head seminar at the Atlantic City Boat Show.
That's awesome. Yeah.
On Thursday, I think it's the 3rd at 4 p.m. So if you guys really want to get into sheep's head fishing, stop into there, and I'm doing a full seminar. And then I do a little bit about a little conservation stuff there too, because I'm involved with the Release Over 22. So I'm going to do a little thing about those guys too.
So did you get it extended to sheep's head?
The what? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. You might want to.
And the good thing about it, it's still early on. So you guys get those big fish. You guys enter it on the website because I think currently right now
fluke on there.
Yeah, we have fluke on there. Anything over 20
on there too.
Yep. See, down south, guys, their fluke don't get big. So a 20 down there is pretty much almost a doormat to them. Us, we catch 20s up here, in April and May pretty decently. But so sheep's head, they're getting some participants, but not many. Like just this month, I think they only had like 5 entries. So you figured if you enter 3 fish, that's 3 entries. And the giveaway is almost like $200 worth of stuff. So figure out the odds, So,
well, plus at the very least, it's pretty cool to say, I just released this, And if the chance at the contest gets you, gives you that one little edge to do it, all the better.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to be releasing a lot of fluke anyway, but you can be sure I'm going to feel better, and it's going to be even easier when I can say, well, I can just
picks, you get into the bigger stuff. You get into like their speckled trout release program. There's a lot of people enter 300, 400, 500 fishes a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's going to be a little bit more tougher, but their giveaways is still almost like, $300-$400 worth of stuff.
I'm down.
And Fluke, they get a decent amount. I mean, it's usually between 50, 75 entries a month. So it's always good. It's a good program. I love it. And we'll be sending a bunch of stuff. We'll be sponsoring with them soon. I'm going to send down a bunch of stuff to them so they can start adding to the giveaways.
That's
Do you
great.
want to you have time you want to break down the release over 20 so some of our viewers might not know about it?
Sure. Yeah, Release Over 20 is a program ran by iStrike Jigheads. Have you ever heard of them? They're mostly a big brand down south, not up our way that much. But yeah, they started the initiative because around their area there was nothing like that, and then they'll see people catch 20-inch speckled trouts, 20 gators, all those, and bucket them. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to protect the fishery. And so he came up with this initiative: is if you catch for us, it would be a weak fish. So if you get a 20-inch weak fish, it counts. So you catch the 20-inch weak fish, 20-inch fluke, 20-inch sheep. Any of those over 20 inches, get a photo of it on the ruler, and then a release photo. That's pretty much it. And then you go onto the website. I believe it's releaseover20.org, where you can just Google it. There's an entry form on there. You just fill out your name, your address, and then upload the photos, and then you'll enter into the database. And then what he does is the end of the month on his Instagram, he'll do a live drawing through your names and numbers. And then if he pulls you out, you get a big giveaway. Like I said, every month is totally different. They get stuff from bottom sweepers, fish burn art, like big art pieces. There's plenty of T-shirts, jigs in there, lures from all these different sponsors that are supporting this. Like Speckled Truth, they're also always sending stuff to these guys.
Yeah.
And then so they send it all, and then end of the month they give it away to whoever wins. And also for every entry you put in, you get sent home a Release Over 20 sticker and a little, how in football when we used to play football, on your helmet, if you win a game, you get the little sticker that says, let me see if I can find it real quick.
Yeah, and the good players with the big plays, they have the helmets with everything all
Correct.
over.
So let's see if I can get this. So if you release a sheep over 20, you get one of these.
There you go.
Yeah, so you get one of these.
Nice.
I've gotten a bunch of them. So whoever releases a sheep, well, my boat's all released, but you release over a 20-inch sheep on my boat, I'm gonna have one of these stickers for you to stick somewhere on my console. So at the end of the year, I'm gonna count how many 20s we released.
Well, hopefully I'll add a couple to your boat this year.
Definitely.
I'm definitely going to jump on, whether you want me to or not. I'm just going to follow you around in the kayak until you just say, just get in.
When you follow me, I'll see you. We'll just pull your kayak up in the side bank, leave it there, and then just we'll keep going.
Yeah, we'll hide it in the sod somewhere. I'm down with that. Just as long as you get back before high tide.
We should be good.
Yeah. That's awesome. Let's see what else we have here. This is a good question.
Oh, saw that one.
Participation trophy fishing. Could you use a traditional striper gear for smaller nearshore tuna or just buy? So John's going to have a different answer than me.
And I'm probably going to have a different answer too. So
yeah. So here's what I will tell you from personal experience. I use my flounder gear for striper. And if you want proof that you can, just look on a video from just about a year and 10 months ago, 40-ounce fish that I caught, or 40-inch fish that I caught on my flounder gear. I was flounder fishing when a blitz started happening, and I was pulling them in. Back in the day when I fished offshore, we would go out with bluefish tackle. We would go out with striper tackle. And we would then, you'd see mahi, and then we just turn around and use that for the mahi, and we would catch the football-sized tuna on the striper gear. So, yes, you can. The question is, should you? I don't think you necessarily should, unless cost is a concern, or if the opportunity presents itself. The biggest thing that I think that you have to consider is, can you land the fish? You should never toss at something if you can't land it. If it's going to be, if you have a better chance of losing that fish and leaving 100 yards of line sticking out of its face, I wouldn't do it. But if the opportunity comes up and you're like, yeah, I could probably land this fish. It may take a while, and I'm going to keep it. That's another big thing. You don't want to work it to death, and I'm going to keep this fish. You can do it, but I would recommend getting appropriate gear. But if it's just not practical, yeah, try the striper gear. Just make sure you're heavy, because a tuna is not the same as a striper. The fight is ridiculous. The fight on a tuna is high speed, quick turns. A striped bass is just power, but you have power and speed with the tuna. So just know that it's going to be a lot different, and your reel is going to absolutely scream if you're underpowered. What are your thoughts there, Kwa?
I mean, depending what he means, like smaller tuna, are we talking 20, 40 pound class, which is usually what we had a lot this year inshore.
Yeah.
It's doable, but at the same time, it's not recommended because the rod's not going to hold it. It's going to explode because of the quick motions of the turning speeds of tuna. The power, it's going to strip every single gear in your rod. That's why when we fish for tuna, we're using like minimalist, like an 8,000 reel, but we get up to like 14, 18, 20,000, especially when we're like popping, especially when we're popping and jigging. See, that's the thing with tuna too. Jigging rod and popping rods are two different rods. So when you're out tuna fishing, you're going to need one of each. And then you have to pair it up to like the perfect reel, because it's got to be able to hold massive amount of line, got to have the cranking power, and it needs to have the adequate drag to be able to play that fish enough. And if you're going to use striped bass gear on a tuna, you're going to take, which is supposed to be a 15, 20-minute fight, a 30-minute fight, it's going to turn into an hour and a half fight, and that's usually not safe for, if you intend to release the tuna, because a 20, 30 pound might not be legal size. And then you also, at the same time, you've got to make sure you have an HMS permit too, to harvest or even attempt to fish for tuna.
Yeah, that's always a big concern. John, what's your thought before I show what light tuna gear looks like? And
I'm actually in agreement for once here. I'm not going to argue this. It really, I'm going to go back with what Kwa says. It really, with your reels, is a big thing. Do you have enough line packed in? I can go out there with that accurate Valiant 300 with 40, 50 pound tests and go tuna fishing with it. However, I'm going to be working that fish to death, because I got to keep making sure that I'm not losing line, that I keep, getting down to that back spool. Does it have the power behind it? Yeah, but it doesn't have enough line. You start talking your spinning reels. I know guys have caught them on BG 6000s, which to me is not a tuna reel. It can do it, but again, they worked that fish to death. They planned on keeping it, and they overcame the odds. They're able to do it on striper gear, but it does. If you're doing inshore, yeah, you can make it happen. But I wouldn't. I would make sure I have lighter tuna gear, which, Rich, you're going to show us now.
Yeah, so I'm not going to pull the spinning rod. It's a custom. It's like 25 years old, but it was used for striper and small tuna up to 35, 40 pounds. This right here, so it's got a Penn 330 GTI, so it's an older reel, but this is small tuna, and you can see the size of this thing. I'm not using this for striper too often, but unless they're large striper. But it's a totally different class. And then once you start talking about the big tuna, well, then you get into this rod here, and this thing. Again, this is like a 30-year-old custom, but this thing is a fiberglass trunk. I mean, this and you're talking Penn International. The big gold reels on these things. So tons of line. And we've had tuna, boated on this, a couple 100 pounds. And when they were more common back in the day, but, big fight, big reel, big line. And quite frankly, it's similar to what we would use when we were fishing for shark, large shark, big shark. So you could, You know, he's saying,
This-
bluefin tuna at the ridge. It depends which ridge you're talking about.
Well, here's my thing. Now reading that comment, if you're hearing about bluefin tuna at the ridge while you're jigging or trolling, and I'm assuming you're talking striper, that to me that's a big no because we're talking giant bluefin tuna. Upwards of 800 pounds. I mean, I've seen them when we're fishing. The farms like sea bassing and everything. A good story is we were sea bassing, and I'm just minding my own business on the one side of the boat. Somebody goes, "Hey, look, a little fish," and then I heard a splash. They're like, "Look, a shark." Squid darts right underneath the outboards, and then boom, a 400-pound bluefin busts the top 15 feet from the outboards. We don't have that type of gear on there. You need at least a Pen 80, a Pen 130 to get a fish like that. So that's Manasquan Ridge. To me, it sounds like you're running into some giant bluefin.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Manasquan Ridge. I don't know how far offshore it is, but if you're inside 20 miles, you could probably you're usually going to be okay along the Jersey coast with the lighter gear because you're not going to get those huge ones typically. But you'll know if the big ones are there. I mean, you're going to know it right away. So I'll tell you this: if you're fishing near the scallop boats, don't use your striper gear. That's where the big ones are going to be. You want to gear up for that because it'll just spool you, and then you're just going to have a fish swimming around with lines sticking out of its face, forever.
I mean, don't underestimate the big ones not being here. I was half mile off the beach during the fall run striper fishing, and literally a 200-pound, 250 aired out maybe 20, 30 feet from my boat into the bunker school and literally shredded that bunker school. It was, I've seen smaller bluefin like 30, 50 pounds, but this one was literally half mile offshore in a bunker school because I was fishing the bunker school, and literally he was like, the size of him was like maybe a quarter of my boat, maybe a little bit longer.
Wow.
But he just aired out like full air, like all the way out, and just biggest splash scared the bejesus out of me.
Oh, of course.
You get alarmed, especially in your size boat, Qua. When you see a fish that big, you're just like, yeah, that could have hit the boat. I'm not feeling too good about this.
Yeah, the stuff you see offshore, though, man, it's amazing. We were talking, Qua, about with a couple of captains this weekend about doing a mothership trip.
Yeah.
And we can't go for tuna because we'd have to get our individual
HMS
license. Yeah, and we're not going to do that. But we can go out for mahi, go out for albies, and so on and so forth. So we're thinking about doing that. But I made the comment, let's go for shark, and John did not like that idea at all. I've seen sharks as big or bigger than my kayak out there. It would be a ton of fun though. It'd be a lot of fun.
Don't get me wrong, it'd be fun. But
you out of your mind?
You'd have to hand the rod off to the boat, at some point, because you can't risk that thing coming at you, because I mean, you have any fish that's going to be a couple hundred pounds plus is going to pull that thing. It's going to capsize it real easy, and you definitely don't want to be at water level with the teeth. But man, it would be fun. Think about going like small blue sharks, 4-footers. That'd be a ton of fun out there.
Unless you get into a massive thresher, which I've seen a lot out there this year.
Well, yeah, then you have that, and then you're stuck in the same position where you got to cut the line. You got to bring it as close as possible with a 13-foot tail swinging at you.
Yeah, that ain't fun.
No. All right, so Qua, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it. We were hoping that Drew Sokol will come on, but he hasn't. He
just made a comment. I mean, Drew, do you think we can get you on?
He's one of the guys that I just really want to get out on the water with someday, because no matter what you're talking about, or and most of it I see on social media, no matter what somebody says, he comes in with like, and here's why. Somebody will make a comment and he'll say, I agree, and here's why, and he will give you the facts of the situation and the experience that he has with it. So Qua's boat's badass.
Oh yeah,
love it.
It's ginormous. It's a 15-foot Hobie power skiff. Yeah, the same company that builds kayaks built these boats for quite a few years, from like 85 up to like 90, and then the mold flipped to a couple companies and yada yada. But yeah, it's 15 feet. I've taken it 15, 20 miles offshore. Never a problem. I don't care. I've been in 3 to 5 foot swells, and I just punch the hammer and go. That's just the boat was designed for bringing surfers out into the waves to surf. So that's I use it for what it is.
Yeah, I used to have a 19-foot Carolina skiff, and I'd go 10, 15 miles offshore, and the looks that people gave me, are you stupid? You're gonna die out here. It's like, I don't think so. I'll just have a long drive back. But your boat is definitely more seaworthy offshore than a flat bottom 19-foot skiff. I'd take it any day.
Funny, the look on these guys' faces, like the fleets, when I'm out there in the middle of the fall run or during the spring run, like in Raritan or in the fall, and I'm weaving in and out of these boats, just like, hey guys, excuse me, I'll kind of just nudge myself in there, drop my trolling motor and spot lock right over top the bunker school or something. And they're like, what the heck is this little thing out here doing? And I'm just like, whoop. And then if the bite's gone, I literally whip it up and just take off and go somewhere else. And they just give me the strangest look, man.
Yeah. Did you ever get the well-meaning people that come up real close to you? Are you okay? Do you need help?
No, I've never gotten one of those.
I had a few of those. I was like, I'm fine. You're over my lines.
You have a kayak too, right, Quad?
No kayak. Just a boat. I'm thinking of getting one this year, but just like a cheapo that I can stand up on, because I want to get into like the swamps to do snake heads on the fly. So that's the only reason I would get a kayak, is I want to get into the swamps. I mean, unless I get in like a really like one of those cheapo like 12, 14-foot John boats and just trolling motor around.
Yeah, it sounds to me like you should just get a small, 10, 12-foot paddle kayak, because you're going to get super skinny.
Solid
the pedal drives. People tell you the Hobie will work well in there. It doesn't. It just kicks up mud.
Yeah, I got Dan Mancari has a Hobie, a Compass, and he takes it back there, and he's like, he just rips the pedals out. He's like, he doesn't use it because it's impractical. It just tracks up mud. So they got those new ones that almost looks like a paddleboard kind of deal. Those look fun. The Lynx, is it the Lynx?
Yeah, I don't remember. Those look awesome. I mean, and talk about stable. People think that paddleboards are stable until they get on them for the first time, and they're falling all over the place. These things, like, you can literally walk around, and you don't even have to think about it
until you spill over into the swamp. Right then, you're done.
Yeah, you got to watch that. Now, somebody with my girth, you may not want to go on one of those, but I've seen people essentially just turning around and fighting fish, walking from one side to the other. They look great, and then a lot of people have motors on them.
Yeah,
which is even better. Most people have motors on them, but you can actually get them without the motor too.
I had that question for New Jersey. If you guys add a motor to your trolling, to your kayaks, do you guys have to get it registered as a powered? Because I have a lot of people ask that.
You do, yeah, absolutely. And in New Jersey, being the Gestapo state, you have to have like bill of sale, and I don't know what else, but it's like impossible to get it done.
You have to have the certificate of origin. If it's never been titled before, it's a whole big to do.
What about those kayaks have those built-in motors? Do they? I guess you can just register them normally, right?
If it's a boat over, I might be wrong, but over 12 feet, it has to be registered.
Yeah.
Or if it's motorized, 10 feet or under and motorized, it has to be registered.
Yeah.
Something goofy like that.
I know I don't have to have it registered, so I'm happy with the pedal.
Yeah.
But I that's the reason why I won't get a motor on unless it's a brand new kayak. Then I'll do it. So John Hutchinson saying it's kind of like registering a trailer without a title in PA. It's impossible. It's darn near impossible.
You know who to check with? One of our viewers, Bill. Check with him. I think he said he has a trolling motor. Just check with him. He might have answers.
Yeah, I haven't seen Bill in here tonight.
Yeah, I'm a little shocked about that, but that's who we want to check with. He would have the answer for that, maybe, because I know he did mention he has a trolling motor on his.
Yeah, and Pete's saying, if you're planning to get one with a motor, buy it new, because then you have all the paperwork when you get it, then it's apparently not that bad. It just takes a while. And quite frankly, the feedback that I've seen, I'm one of the moderators for a really large kayaking group on Facebook, Kayak Fishing for Beginners. So you get the same question quite often. And I always feel bad. The people, I live in New Jersey. I just bought this secondhand. What do I have to do? And they outline from time to time what they go through. And what they run into the most is, even when they have the proper documentation, the people at the place, I guess it's the DMV or whatever, they don't know what they need. So they just start making stuff up. So it takes, 5, 6, 7 trips sometimes in order to get your properly, you brought in the proper stuff at the beginning to get it properly processed and to get that sticker onto the front of your kayak.
It's such a process. I had 2 fiberglass John boats that I redid and then ended up putting motors on. They got them with no paperwork, no NJ numbers or anything. I had to get the boat completely water ready, make an appointment with the state police, take it all the way down to Atlantic City, have them inspect it. They give me paperwork. Then you have to go back to the DMV with all that paperwork. And if it's not the right paperwork, then you have to go back. It got to the point where the trooper gave me his business card and told the lady at the DMV if there's any problems to tell her to call him on the spot. It was such a mess. I'll never do it again.
Yeah, because they know the deal, So that's my jam is saying, if you go through a dealer, you're good. And then you have another horror story. This time though, it's out of PA. Been waiting on registration in PA since last year. Oh my God, it's terrible. So imagine this: you go out and let's say you get if you're going to go get one with a motor, let's say it's probably going to be one of the nicer ones. So let's just say you get the autopilot. So you're dropping $4,000 before you get the $1,000 battery, and now you can't even take it out for a year after waiting 6 to 8 months just for it to ship.
I'd be riding dirty.
I'm sorry. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not paying $5,000 for a kayak I can't run when literally I paid $2,300 for my skiff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I'm just getting a full boat.
Yeah.
Just those guys out there that are having issues registering your trailers without title. This kind of happened to me. I bought my stuff from Maryland. Mine had a title, but it was transferred. It was bought from the guy, and then he had it. He had the title from the original owner, but he only signed it, but he never signed it over to his name. So it was from the original guy. So I had issues registering it here in PA, but I got the bill of sale from the previous owner. So what happened is he connected me with a Maine title tag up in Maine, and they will register your trailer online through Maine. All you need is the bill of sale, and you get all the information, you fill it out online, and you reach out to them, pay for it. It's a 5-year It's a 5-year registration, and then you'll be able to register it here, and they'll mail you home a Maine plate and like all this other stuff.
Yeah, that's not the
Maine
first
is the
time that
place
I've
to
heard
go.
of that.
Mm-hmm.
Maine is the place to go for any kind of shady DMV stuff.
I don't know about
They will
you.
send you a tag for anything. We had street legal dirt bikes, 2-stroke dirt bikes with a Maine tag on them. 100% legal, registered and insured.
Oh my God. Well,
Maine
I
is
love
the
Maine.
state for shady
Maybe that's
stuff.
why. Oh man. Yeah. So James is with you, Ed. He's riding dirty. Just
I'd
be
ride
careful
dirty.
because in New Jersey, if you're near any of these larger towns, the Marine Police will check you if you're in a kayak, and they will, do the safety checks. And if you don't have those numbers, they're just all too have. Actually, it's the Coast Guard really that checks the most, but every once in a while, a Marine Police guy comes up and it's like that meme. Is there anything on your boat that shouldn't be? Just you.
Yeah.
So they like to do that. They'll send somebody over and I've had some horror stories with I've never failed any inspection ever, but man, they make it tough on you every single time.
And the only thing they ever check me for is freaking if I'm tied up to a bridge or not. They'll drive by, they'll look up there, but look like hands-free spot lock, guys. No tying up.
Yeah. Well, you used to be able to tie up.
Yeah.
Before 9/11, you could tie up.
Was that
And then remember, right after, you couldn't even fish near a bridge. They told you to stay 100 feet away.
Yeah, something like that. But nowadays, if you're out there enough, you see the same guys over and over. They won't give you an issue. Just don't, as long as you just respect the bridges and the property, just don't tie up to it. That's about it.
And if you do tie up, don't leave a rope.
Yeah.
That really ticks them off. All right, let's see what else we got here.
It's funny with the
All right.
DMV stuff. My
Yeah, a
kids
lot of-
are
This
a little bit younger.
This whole chat
Have
went
you-
left field on this one.
Have you guys seen the movie? It's off. This is off topic, but have you ever seen the movie Zootopia?
Yeah.
So with the guy, the fox takes them to the DMV, and all the animals working in the DMV are sloths.
Yeah, that's about right.
That's hilarious.
That sounds like it
Yeah,
now.
I was dying laughing.
I will say this: it was somebody mentioned try going to another DMV. If we're talking New Jersey based, the Cherry Hill DMV is probably the best one I've been to. They're
They changed it all. They changed it all because now in Jersey, you have to go. Certain DMV locations do certain things. So like the one by me only does driver's licenses.
Yeah,
the one up in Turnersville does titles. They cut it all up, and it's weird now. Before
the
you
Cherry
do
Hill
it.
one does title, registration, tags, plates, stuff like that, and then the driver's license is at a different location. But if anybody's looking to get anything registered or anything, and they're in Jersey, go to the Cherry Hill one. I had no issues with that place.
Man,
So
aren't we glad we live in PA?
Well, yeah, you and me do. Yeah. I got to just point this out. I just love the name Participation Trophy Fishing. That is the best. I love that name. Yeah, weapons, say yes, and point to the fillet and bait knives. That's the one question you never want to answer either way, no matter what.
No.
I don't have anything illegal on me, is what you say. Yeah, James is going to stay in PA with us. It's much easier. It's not great, but it's better.
I've been debating really bad in the next 2 years to move to Jersey. I mean, I keep getting pulled back to PA because I'm like, property tax, DMV stuff,
Yeah.
Come on down, Qua. We're more than happy to have you.
Listen,
Listen,
my
where I'm
property
at,
taxes-
where I'm at, 10 minutes I'm in Atlantic City if I go one direction, 10 minutes I'm on the Mullica River if I go another direction. This
So
area is
the
great.
reason I'm looking to New Jersey is because for what they want me to pay for a house in PA, I can get something twice as nice in Jersey, but half the cost.
Yeah.
Like some of the properties I really need the property because I need somewhere to park all my toys. Because I got like 4 cars, and then like I'm gonna be picking up a few boats. So and then I have this whole dream build of like a full-on workhorse garage because I just like tinkering with toys, so I need a big ginormous garage.
You know,
my house
my
might
wife
be up
and
for
I were
sale
talking.
soon.
It was literally last night. My wife said, "You know, it's a shame that New Jersey is New Jersey because that's really where we should be living. You know, so that I would be closer to the water, and you know, her sister lives in New Jersey. And it's like, yeah, it is a shame. There's so many things that don't work for me down there. You know, I mean, your governor pretty much said that. Well, he didn't pretty much. He flat out said, "Don't come." To people
Pretty
like
much.
me. Don't come. Okay.
I love the state, but the politics are garbage.
Yeah, it's not even. Well, yeah, I guess it is a politics. You know, I have.
It's all politics.
You know, my gun safe. What am I going to do with everything in there? I'm not getting rid of it.
You're gonna have to neuter it all, or leave it.
Yeah, I'm not going to do either. So, but anyway, I might be moving down too at some point because it just makes a lot more sense.
It does. It's like, but the only downside of that, say you have a $250,000 house, you pay it off, right, in like 15 years. Guess what? You'll still be paying some kind of a payment after it because you got property taxes out the wazoo.
Yeah.
And again, I'm gonna beg to differ on that. Rich and Ed, you've both been to my house. It's not the greatest house, but it's not a terrible house.
It's a nice house.
It's not bad. We paid an amazing price. We paid $100,000 for it, and property taxes are $4,800 per year.
That is
bad. And he got the big garage because he has more than one lot.
I have a double lot.
I'm on a quarter acre. My taxes are.
Mine's just right under
$4,500 a year.
I'm like 0.22.
Yeah, I'm on a quarter acre. I got the big shop and the house.
It's just the way my lot's laid out. It doesn't look like it's much, but it's like I said, it's 0.22, which is just right under a quarter acre. I'm at 4,800.
All right. So, Quad, In other words, they're saying we should move to Jersey. It sounds like several people in there are saying to go down there. Frank's Fly Traps is saying no green grass here. Any short town, you need $1 million. That is absolutely correct. You have to be a millionaire.
Yeah.
That is in there.
Short
Hey,
town,
man,
yes, but when you come out on the mainland, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
let's show our buddy from the show. New Jersey politics not good. Yeah. So Kwa, let's bring it back to fishing real quick.
Yeah.
So what's your plan? I know you are not a cold weather fisherman. You are let's talk fishing in the cold weather and plan for fishing in the cold weather, but let's not go fishing in the cold weather. So what are you looking at coming up over the next month?
I actually went out today.
You did? Well, today wasn't cold.
No, I went up to I went trout fishing today. Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
Fishing?
It was no ice fishing. It was 52 degrees. The water stream wasn't too bad. I mean, caught a few nice rainbows on the fly. It was fun. I haven't been out in a while, but I have this tradition of every time I fish up there, I always fall in. It does not matter how many times I've gone. I fall in every time. Literally walk. It's just I'm not graceful. Like I'll walk, wading the creek, and then I'll just step on the rock wrong or something. Yeah. Today I took a full nose dive, water in my waders, flapped around like a seal. And you know what? I just stood up and just kept fishing. I was like, you know what? I'm soaked to the raw. I got water in my waders, and I'm just going to keep fishing. I don't care.
Yeah, at that point, you may as well. It'll warm up if it's in the waders.
Yeah.
It becomes like a wetsuit then.
Crabbing and fishing. Let's if you guys want to jump back on a topic, grass shrimp. Anybody finding grass shrimp? As of right now, I heard it's pretty scarce.
Yeah.
It's definitely
super scarce. Even Absekin's been having a tough time finding them, so it's rough.
Hasn't started yet.
Yeah.
Which is surprising.
It's still too cold.
Yeah,
I mean, I was going to say, give it another couple of weeks. We should be.
Usually, you can get them pretty well, even when it's iced out.
Yeah,
but they're just super scarce this year. No idea where.
Maybe it's like all the fish; they're just moving to different areas. Let's just hope, because if the grass shrimp go, there's going to be problems.
Yeah,
some big problems because everything eats those. Everything eats those. So, are you going to be heading saltwater at all, Kwa?
What? Anytime soon? No. I dedicated the month of March to putting some work on in the boat. It's just too cold for me to work on a boat, and it's down there in the shore. So,
yeah,
I have a little fiberglass work done. I'm going to add a power pole. Probably. I'm going to wrap the boat, but I'm going to wrap it somewhere in the summertime.
Tide chasers wrap?
No, I'm just going to do it. Maybe. Think about it.
You should do the tide chasers wrap, dude.
Right, and then have every other kayaker, including more kayakers, chasing around.
You know what? That we can't keep up with you, so you don't even have to worry. We try, we just can't do it.
But yeah, the only other plans this year is just I'm focusing a lot more on fly fishing for stripers.
Yeah,
light tackle. Like I'm literally gonna just leave all the spin gear at home and just bring the fly rods, and I'm gonna force myself every single day to just learn the flats and the marshes even more than I already know them, and just literally just I want to be able to know every single flat from like Avalon down to Cape May.
Yeah, so I'm just going to ask you, please let me know when you find the reds, because that's how you're going to find the reds. If you're popping the flats for striped bass, you're going to find the reds when you're covering ground. So let me know when you find them. You don't have to tell me where they are. Just let me know when you find them and let me see the picture of it. I won't share.
That's still on my list. And then besides that, the only other thing that I'm really focused on this year is, I'm going to get back into hitting sheeps pretty heavy.
Yeah.
But my prediction this year, and I talked to Schaefer about, we had a long 2-hour discussion between me and him the other day. The sheep bite this year might be scarce because there was a super deep freeze in the Delaware Bay and down that way. So they might not even make that full migration up, but we'll see. But from me and his prediction, it might be a tougher bite, not like last year when it was like all lights out bite. So,
except for me and John.
Yeah, we've been all right.
I caught a lot of tog and actually more striped bass than anything, trying to get those sheep.
I think all of us caught more striped bass than everything.
Yeah, that's a good sign if you ask me.
Oh yeah. Before I got off topic, yeah, my next biggest thing this year is focusing on a little window of cobia bite that we had down in South Jersey. We get
That
it.
would be awesome.
Yeah, we have an inshore cobia bite. It's probably usually about half a mile offshore, something like that, maybe less than that. They follow in with the bunker schools, and last year I had a couple opportunity shots at them. There's just no takers, but I mean,
Did you see them though? You saw them there?
To the left of me was Brian Williams, Badfish Charter.
Yeah.
Right of me was another 26 center console. Dude, we all arrived on that bunker school at the same time. There were 6 fishes in that school. Brian dropped in first, boom, bangs a 50.
Wow.
Next to me drops in, had a 65 on. I'm in the middle. I'm throwing everything in the middle. They won't touch a thing. I'm just sitting here like, okay, these 2 guys are fighting fish. We saw the 6 of them kind of just moseying on in the middle of the school. So, I mean, I've talked to Brian and a couple of other guys. They gave me a couple of pointers. I mean, they were throwing bucktails.
Yeah.
I was trying to live line bunker for them. So
Hey, I know a guy that makes
tough at the
bucktails.
bunker
So.
school to
I know you know guys that have bucktails. I'm gonna have to check out some of your bucktails and start throwing some crazy colors at them.
You should try the
you know.
Fat Dad Fluke bucktail.
Is it like a spro type or is it like a ball?
Oh, it's even better.
Oh, it's revolutionary.
It's still here from last week.
What, is that a flat bottom?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of weird looking.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
All right, we're gonna have to talk. I need some bucktails for this.
Give that a go.
Give me a shout.
Yeah, a couple
And,
of 2 and 3 ounces and some sort of weird color, so so I can get them angry and just smack at it.
Yeah.
There you go. And
Yeah,
crabbing,
so
that's my ramp, just to let you know.
What is?
Crabbing and fishing said he got his False Landing ramp, and that's my ramp.
I don't have a ramp. I just launch wherever I can.
Me
Usually
too.
it's a terrible rocky spot that John found, which turns out to be a great place to launch, just very difficult and inconvenient when you're alone.
I mean, I buy the monthly from Stone Harbor. It's cheap, so I just launched there. But I mean, there's a bunch of free ramps around the area that I know.
Yeah. Definitely a lot down there. Definitely. Let's see. Are there any other questions in there? Bottom sweeper bucktail. James, you are very close to correct on that one. Keep a live eel rigged and ready when cobia snubs everything else.
Definitely. This year I'm keeping the cooler with a live well. I'm keeping a Neil and a live spot in there. A couple of them.
Yep.
Just tuck it at them. They'll take something.
Here's a good one.
Yeah, this one.
Opening week of Fluke.
All right, right now that's a touchy subject.
Yeah.
We're still waiting for the Marine Commissionary meeting bullcrap that New Jersey calls a meeting. Again, it's all politics, but that's March 3rd, I believe. That's when they decide what our dates are. So you should be seeing something within the next few weeks, I would think.
Yeah, and as far as depth,
that really depends on. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's always a tricky one. So I'll give you what I personally have done, and I can't back it up with science to say that this is what you should do. But early season, I actually tend to catch. I'll just go last year. Last year, early season, I actually did a video pre-season in New Jersey. So New York, I was fishing New York, and then I was actually fishing for striped bass and caught some keeper size fluke in South Jersey, all before the season started. They were all in areas that I would normally fish in the cooler part of the summer. So they were shallower. I wasn't fishing the really deep holes, but I wasn't fishing up on the flats either. So it wasn't incredibly shallow at the same time. But I would honestly say I would start in an area. Now, keep in mind, I'm saying this without knowing temperatures. I don't know the dates. I don't know the water temperatures or anything like that, the conditions leading into it. But generally speaking, I'm going to be looking at under 20 feet at the beginning of the season, and I'm going to work it all the way up into the shallows. In the midday on a sunny day, I'm going to go right up into those flats, and I'm going to fish the really skinny water. And I'm talking, less than a foot to 3 feet, and I'm going to hit that heavily. Now, if you have a boat and you can't do that, totally understood. If you're on land, don't skip over that. If you're casting over the shallows because you don't want to go in the water and you're casting into the deep, retrieve all the way through those flats, because that mud in the backwaters is going to heat up, and that's going to give them the warmth that they want, and they're going to become more active. So that's my early season strategy every year. Last year it worked really well, but as with anything, just go out with the plan, and if your plan is not working, change it up, go deep. And if you're not catching them there, check deep. Just keep in mind that you got to give it some time too. But the big fish are going to be there. Honestly, the flounder are moving in now. So they're going to be there, and they're going to be there in numbers. Don't let anyone ever tell you they're not there yet. They are. But that's my strategy. You guys have any different approach when you're fishing early season?
Yeah, a little bit. It's pretty similar to what you're doing. So I'll go off of last year, because last year was kind of weird as far as fluke goes. It seemed like, at least here in my area, it seemed like it took forever for the water to warm up. I was 20 foot is usually the magic number when it comes to fluke, 15 to 20. If it's the water's warmer, then obviously you're going to want to check deeper holes. But this year for me, I was catching keepers in like 6 feet of water on an outgoing tide, well up into July, early July. So definitely don't count out the shallows. There's definitely going to be big fish laying in there.
Yeah, there's a misconception, and this is one of those regional things, right? Just like nobody used those jigs for sheep's head down south. It's just a regional thing. But I'll tell you this, and actually this is something I talk about let me just go into this. Down south, they're typically they're not vertical jigging. They don't John Skinner the flounder down there, the fluke. They're not just bouncing deep water. Deep water down south in most of these inshore areas is under 6 feet. And it's probably averaging under 3 feet, and they're still catching these flounder. A cut to them or a trough to them is the difference between 3 feet and 4 feet, or 2 feet and 3 feet. And that's where they're picking them out of all year. Now, it doesn't mean there isn't deep water. It's just that's not where they're fishing for them. And it holds true up here, but we tend not to do that. We tend, as another example, to not fish docks up in New Jersey. I don't know why, but you go on a weekend, I guarantee you right now, I will give a free course to anyone that proves me wrong. You are going to find at least 95% of the fishermen on any weekend that are fluke fishing out in the channel. They're not going to, and you may not see one person the entire weekend flipping a dock. But the dock has structure, it has pilings, and if it's in the right spot with current, it's going to hold the fish better than that channel that has no structure. It's just a flat wasteland. So, under those docks, you're typically shallower too. So never think that you have to be deep water for fluke just because John Skinner catches it in deep water. The reason he catches it in deep water, because he's out in the middle of Long Island Sound where it's deep. So he's finding very deep structure, but you can still do that inshore. You can still do that close to land. So yeah, that's my little rant. Don't overlook it just because it's shallow. If it has structure and it has current, it's going to have bait fish moving through, or forage that's coming off of the sod banks or between the pilings, or crabs getting ripped off of pilings, which by the way is a great bait for fluke. So you want to make sure you fish those docks in those shallow areas. So that's end of rant. Don't rule out the shallows.
To add to that too, the Skinner thing, everybody kind of jumps on Skinner. We're not in Skinner's area. We're close to New York, but the what's the word I'm looking for? The way the ocean is and the waters in our bays, it's different. It's a different world between, it's 200 miles, but it's so us comparing to Skinner, you're comparing apples and oranges. You know what I mean? And a lot of people do that.
It's funny that you even mentioned that. Like South Jersey backwaters are completely different than North Jersey waters. They are. It's there. Right. You have to study. That's the biggest thing is go home, do the research, look at the maps, figure out what you're fishing, and come up with a game plan, like you said, Rich.
Yeah, but remember,
you got to do the homework.
Yeah, fluke is structure and current. It's something that they're ambush predators. They sit in one spot. They're not swimming around like a tuna. They don't. Tuna will die if it doesn't swim around. Flounder will just sit. A weak fish will just sit in the current. They'll just sit there waiting. They wait for something to come straight into their view when it's too late for them to get away, and they just grab it. That's what they do. And the shallows, if it has structure and it has current, you should fish it. Absolutely fish it. I don't care if it's 6 inches. Fish it. I can't tell you how many pictures. Here's proof. Go to a flounder gigging page. I don't advocate flounder gigging, by the way, but flounder gigging page, and look at the depth of the water that they're gigging these flounder in. It's like 6 inches. They're in these flats boats, and they're just pulling their way through the shallows, and they're getting a lot of them. So you can find them there.
I mean, I know we're on the conservative side, but it's something that intrigues me. I want to try it at least once in my life.
Yeah, so it's legal.
Yeah.
I just don't, it's not my thing. It's not. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. They're staying within the legal bounds. I just don't think it's very sporting. I mean, it's like shooting a deer in the headlights. There's a reason why you can't hunt at night. It's not just because you can't see where the shot's going to end up and what's behind the target. It's because it's not sporting. There's no chance. It's just deer in the headlights. Yeah. There's a reason that's a saying. And it's the same thing with the flounder. Once you blind it, it's not going to see it coming.
Yeah, that's true.
Of course, that's also how you catch shrimp. So you blind them with the light and they don't see the net coming behind them. So
here's another good
I got to apologize to Drew. I blew up his strategy. So sorry about that. Yeah, Adam. Adam. It's a good place to launch a Hobie.
All right. Rich, do you want to take that? I kind of feel probably differently than you on this, but go ahead.
Yeah, so my answer is let's take it offline, and I can show you if you show me an area in South Jersey that you want to fish, I can probably point you to some good launches. The other thing is I'm happy to go with you sometime and show you specific launches if I've used them, and we can just head out onto the water together someday. There are some things to keep in mind with different launches. There's one that John went with John for the first time, but there are things you need to know about that. Otherwise, you're going to break your ankle. There's a place in Avalon where you can launch, which is outstanding. But if you don't know how deep it gets, you're going to end up underwater, which I did once. And I'm talking one step off the bank. So at certain tides, you have to launch with the back of the kayak beached. Otherwise, you're going to you're in 12 feet of water in one step. So I'd be happy to tell you if you just if you want to get specific information for different areas, if I fished them and if I've launched there, send me an email, rich@fatdadfishing.com, and I'm happy to send you some maps with circles on them and any information that I know about them.
It definitely depends if you're like North South Jersey, Mid South Jersey, or South Jersey.
Yeah.
We can divide it up.
Yeah, and actually, it's easier to launch, in my opinion, in South Jersey because you have the launches are smoother. They're smoother launches. You have a longer walk into the water before it gets deep in a lot of the launch areas.
My go-to spot. I love that spot.
I hate that spot because there is a shelf there and a strong current. Yes, there is.
We're talking about the same spot?
I think so. Yeah. Just walk 3 more feet next time.
The one where I got my truck stuck?
No, I'm sorry. I'm talking about further south.
I know which spot you're talking about, and yes, I've seen that drop. But
yeah, it's funny. It's funny when surf fishermen do it because they end up under. But the current's bad. I mean, you can't get things.
You just walk out and bloop.
You're literally. I mean, it's a sod bank shelf. So once it ends, and it's a very, very strong current. And by the way, that drops down to 50 feet. Within about 5 yards, so it can be bad. Somewhere near Ingham Thoroughfare for Avalon. Yep. Let's see.
I don't know what you're talking about on that one, Frank. Oh, and your lure's ready, man.
Oh, what website was that a while back? The fish caught at different areas.
Oh, like fish spraying or something?
I don't know.
Is he talking about like fish spraying in one of those?
Oh, that's pretty there, Ed. Hold on. Let's
That was
zoom
a
in
custom.
on
That was Frank's custom.
Hold on. I don't know if it's going to work. Yep. Oh, there you go. That's the custom work.
I always love those cat eyes, man. Those cat eyes are amazing.
Yeah, you gotta. I'll send you some good detailed pictures of this one, Carl. This one came out pretty cool.
I got like boxes of turned plug bodies that I don't even want to touch. I'm just like, I'm so lazy to do it nowadays. And at least you feel like painting. I don't feel like doing anything.
Yeah, I'm just learning it all. I bought all the airbrushes and stuff and started doing it. I can't draw to save my life, but I can. Not to toot my own horn, but I can airbrush pretty good.
Yeah,
So-
you can airbrush. You can airbrush a lure. They're awesome.
As long as you don't get into the wood laid stuff, right? You'll be fine.
Yeah.
I had a whole wood shop in here before I started doing lures. I got rid of all of it.
Rich, Adam has another question that it still stays on that topic. So if you want to bring that one up as well.
Have you launched near Union Beach? Oh, sorry.
We clicked at the same time.
One thing I want to say about kayak launching from the salt, the biggest thing is, Adam, if you've never actually been in a kayak and this is your first kayak, my suggestion is actually find a local lake first. Get comfortable with the kayak. Make sure you're good to go with the kayak. The next thing I would do is then try and find some type of tidal water, like a river near your home, something like that, because we're talking about currents ripping. It's a whole different animal out there. I know not one of us would not be opposed to go out with you on your first outing.
Yeah, well,
but
in
I would
Union
say-
Beach is Raritan Bay.
Yeah, which is a huge
that's a whole-
Jurassic. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but the launch is easy.
Yes.
Depending on the conditions, the launch is not the tough part about.
Yeah, but that bay
Union
kicks up.
Beach. I typically launch from South Amboy on the back side of the bay when I'm fishing the Raritan, and keep in mind I will literally pedal all the way out to the Coast Guard base from there. So you can ask Randy sometime. We're gonna have to get him on the stream. I met him literally out in the middle, and we had both launched in the backside of the bay, and we pedaled around for I think 10 hours. With that in mind, launching is not the tough part. It's actually surviving the changing conditions in the bay, because think about a bathtub. You make one wave and it starts hitting the sides and it comes back. The wind comes in, the currents rip through. It can be either a beautiful day out on the Raritan, or it can turn nasty quick. And again, I've mentioned it many times. I've been kayaking and kayak fishing for over 25 years, and it took the Raritan to capsize me, and it did in February. I guess it's 2 years ago now. I think it's 2 years, maybe it's a year ago. So about this time last year, I got capsized, and it didn't look bad, but it was bad. Randy almost capsized. It was so bad that he had to land his PA a mile from down the beach from his truck, and he had to bring it up the beach a mile. Now, anyone who's ever pulled a kayak onto a beach the 30 yards to the water knows that sucks. He went a mile because he knew he was going to capsize. I knew I was going to capsize, and I did, about a mile offshore. Drew points out that's close to a 13-mile paddle one way that Randy and I did, and it was actually that same day. Yes, it was. We went well over that. We were close to 30 miles on the day total. Pedal kayaks, and it was great conditions until it wasn't. And very experienced kayaker with pedal and paddle, and nothing I could do. It decided it was going to put me in the water, and it put me in the water. So the only thing that saved me was a dry suit and knowing how to self-rescue. But yeah, as far as the launch, yeah, it's a good place to launch. Union Beach is an outstanding place to launch, and really good striper fishing there. The flounder isn't great. You can catch them there, but it isn't great. You have to find the structure, which is going to be more to the north of that. So you got a little bit of a pedal out of there before you hit the really good stuff. It's got the bottom of the Raritan in that area has a lot of little divots where it'll go from maybe 12 feet to 13 feet. But if you just go 3 or 4 miles further north, Now you start going from 16 to 25, up to 30, down to 40, and then you hit the shipping lanes, and now you're down to 60 feet. That's where you're going to find more of the bigger fluke in the area, unless you go around the lighthouses and, you know, that kind of structure. Let's see. Yeah, wind can be really bad on that bay. This is a good one for safety. If you have a swimming pool and you're new to kayaks, get in there and just keep tipping over and get yourself back in without touching the bottom. That's important. If you can do that, what's that?
I said that, and don't rip your liner.
Don't do it. Don't do it right now. And in the summer, every summer I do that on my own. I always do it when I'm alone on a trip, and I'll just launch the kayak and I'll go out and I'll dump myself a few times early in the year. It's still cold, but then I'll just get the practice in. I'll go back to the truck. I will change, and then I'll enjoy the 80-degree weather for the rest of the day, knowing that for the rest of the year, if I tip over, I've already rescued myself a few times. It's still familiar in I didn't get too fat to do it, which is always a really big concern for me. Yeah, and I think that's it. Anything else you guys want to cover? I have one last thing that I want to bring up before we go. Anything you guys want to cover?
No, I'm good. I just want to say thanks to Quad for coming on.
Yeah, me too.
Well, my pleasure, boys. I love talking fish. That's all I like to do, man.
Yeah, me too. Well, that's why people watch this show, because that's all we want to do. If we're not out there, that's all that we want to do. Talking fish. Glad that everyone would come in and participate in the chat. It was awesome. It was just, even though you weren't on screen, it's just a great conversation. Qua, again, who do you have coming up this week for Tide Chasers on Sunday? Do you even remember?
I do not. I think what's that guy named? Shark Fisherman down in Ocean City, Maryland. OC Shark Hunter or something.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, all that matters, you got Sharks coming up.
Shark.
Great topic.
I mean, I have a bunch of sharkers here in Jersey, but you know how these Jersey, they don't like us to target sharks.
Right.
I have a lot of good shark fishermen around here, but we just can't do that. So.
Yeah, I used to do it. I gave it up. My first tattoo was a shark, Mako shark. Yeah. So, and let me just jump in real quick. Well, I'll let you go. Thank you so much. Want to touch base with you. Maybe we could do some things together going forward. I know that the people that watch this stream love having you on. We'll have to get you back. Maybe we'll do something besides sheep's head this year.
But I'm not good at anything else but sheep's head.
Oh, that's what you want people to believe, but we know better.
Yeah, I guess.
I've seen the pictures.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't share very many pictures, though. I've heard the stories. That's about it.
Well, when I feel that a certain species gets threatened, I pull down all my pictures. I stop posting. So.
Yeah, and that's actually what I want to talk to you about. I think there's maybe something we can do together as a live stream and a podcast with the the conservation side to kind of publicize it and maybe show off the people that are throwing the larger fish back to get bigger, to get even bigger, and to continue breeding. So maybe there's something we can do together. So we'll talk about that later. But again, thanks for coming on. Everyone else, just hold on for 1 minute. Qua, I'm going to let you go.
All right, so have a great night. Man.
See you.
See you, man.
Wanted to just bring this up because we do have a guest for next week coming on. For those that are on Instagram, you have seen her from Heaven and Elle Outdoors. Elle is going to come on, and we're actually going to talk a little bit about we're going to talk about a lot of things because she fishes for everything in New Jersey, boat, shore. I don't think she kayak fishes, but a lot of boat and a lot of shore. And she's really good with the flatfish, and winter flounder is the other season that's opening that a lot of people overlook. And, she'll tell you she's not the expert, but she catches them. She knows how to catch them. So she's going to come on. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And then we're just going to talk fishing in general. It would be awesome to have all of you guys back. Again, interactive show. So any questions you have for her. And if you're not familiar with her, go on to Instagram. It's at Heaven and Elle Outdoors. And I think she's got like 200, 300, 400 pictures on there. And you can tell she knows what she's doing. She ties her own flies and teasers and all that stuff. She's a pure fisherwoman, and really looking forward to that conversation. Beyond that, we have some other really good guests coming up. We've got kayak fishermen down south. We've got some tuna discussions coming up with multiple people. We have striped bass coming up. Of course, flounder is always going to be one of the staples of the summer, but we've got some of the larger names in captains and fishing entertainment and fishing instruction that are coming up. So really looking forward to it, and we're going to start getting the calendar packed. Again, a lot of these guys are taking this off season to recharge their batteries because they go full speed as soon as the season's open. So they're just getting their last bit of family time and relaxation in, and then they're going to be jumping into the stream throughout the year. And we're going to try to time it so that the episodes that they're on coincide at least loosely with the fishing that's really popular at that moment, which is why Elle is coming on next week. And we're going to talk a little bit about the winter flounder, and I'm pretty sure striped bass will work its way in there because it's only going to be a couple hours before the start of the season. I think it would be funny if we try to get Chris Matusin on as well, but he's going to be sitting in his car waiting for that midnight to chime.
me and Chris are going to be sitting in the same car waiting.
So Ed might not be on next week. He might be with Chris, and who could blame him? I'm up in Pennsylvania. I'm not going to make it. John's got to work, so maybe John will be here.
Well, the first is on a Tuesday. I'm off. So.
Oh, you're off.
Lunch breaks at 1:00. DOD Beach is 5 minutes away from work. I can go down, throw plugs for 20 minutes, and go back.
Well, there you go. Then you got to do it. You got to do it. So, all right, guys. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Really appreciate it. We'll be back again next week. We'll get the link out for the show next week with Elle. And until then, get out on the water, get the perch. They're the ones that are legal right now, and get some tight lines. Catch you later.